chairs are being brought into the back so that each of you can have a place to sit during our remaining part of the session. Our next speaker is Jin Yu from Amico Research Center, who will talk to us on demetalation. And his talk will deal specifically with control of vanadium. And look forward to what you have to say to us.
This one? Move around, right?
Right.
This is forward. As works, I'll start by acknowledging my co-workers somewhere around in this room. John Cott, he's currently in UOP, and we work together to develop demet process. In the course of the demet process, the work has been completed at ARCO. Now I have to acknowledge or thank Amico Chemicals to provide me opportunity to present this work at this conference. My basic theme is, does vanadium destroy zeolite permanently on FCC cathodes? So that not only commercial importance of this, what I'm going to talk about, but also fundamental aspect of vanadium function. So I like to trigger your thought, and then the further development in the fundamental aspect is welcome. The title is the simple demetallation process. The most demetallation process, as you know, try to remove the metals, nickel, iron, and vanadium all together and try to rejuvenate the catalyst. That's the normal sense of demetallation process. This one is just limited to only vanadium removal, leaving nickel and iron intact. So that's a key aspect of this talk. And fortunately or unfortunately, this talk was structured to honor my obligation to my previous employment, so that limited to public information published in the paper. Now I'll go through very quickly. All of you probably knows FCC system consists of two units. One is the cracking reactor. I want you to remember this temperature. Of course, most of you know about it. In the cracking of the FCC feed, we coke part of the carbon in the feed, deposit as a coke. At the same time, the metal contaminants, such as nickel, iron, and vanadium, also deposit on the catalyst. So, coke-laden catalyst move to regenerator, which operate at the normal 1350 degree F, in centigrade somewhere 730 to 750 degrees centigrade, and there coke is burned off and clean the catalyst rejuvenate catalyst and back to cycle this way. In the normal commercial FCC catalyst, in a small scale reactor has about several hundred tons of catalyst inventory to several thousand tons of catalyst in the large the FCC unit. So you can appreciate the huge amount of catalyst is circulating between these two units. So average catalyst size would be somewhere between 50 to 70 angstrom. Now, in the process of the depositing metals, in the general consensus in this area is that nickel is homogeneously distributed throughout the catalyst structure. On the other hand, vanadium is preferentially attack the zeolite site and react with the zeolite site, particularly rare earth oxide, to form eutectic mixture and consequently destroy the zeolite. And that activity is shown by drastic decline of catalytic activity and surface area, pore structure, particularly crystallinity of zeolite, thus decline dramatically. And we will show you that aspect. And then this sample of this study was chosen Phillips-Burger catalyst. Reason is that one is high metal loadings. Try to demonstrate the effect a little more clearly. At that time, as you see, probably old timers you can remember, those the Filtro catalyst and Engelhardt Davidson catalyst being equivalent catalyst or a mixture of those. And burning catalyst was microactivities is conversion level, and this coke producing factors, and this is the gas forming activities. So if you look at this, then microactivity, burden activity went down from 80 to 59, and coke producing factor increased dramatically. Gas making activity increased. We generally believe that nickel is responsible for the coke making and gas making in principle. However, vanadium poisoning effect is related to activity decline. I picked a few catalysts, extreme catalysts. Catalyst A, as I indicate here, you can see level of vanadium is way higher than probably the level of catalyst currently operated throughout the world. And catalyst B, reason is high, but this one behaves entirely different from catalyst A. And the catalyst C, they behave the similar way. That's why I picked this, not only catalyst level. Demet process, as I indicated, mostly they try to remove the total metals, but this case is limited to vanadium alone. And then this process consists of two steps. One is calcination step, try to set up the vanadium as a discrete free phase from matrix phase by simple calcination in air. Of course, once you set up vanadium and then remove vanadium from the matrix by simple washing steps. Actually, starting of this one is when we put the FCC equilibrium catalyst in water, we noticed that the yellow color forms. And then we identify the yellow color was in the vanadium pentoxide. So look through the solubility, the tables, and indeed vanadium can be removed. So this prompts us to look into this simple washing step. But the key is this. And vanadium dissolved in water, but if you leave this solution, yellow solution, exposed to air, and then this solution becomes a salt. So that if you don't remove the vanadium quickly from the matrix, that vanadium salt gets reverted back on the catalyst and makes the worse catalyst than even metal contaminated catalyst. So that now, and with that information, this is a simple water wash from the regenerated catalyst. As you saw, that catalyst was regenerated 1350 degree F, and then again further calcine 815 degrees centigrade, 2 hours, and the 35 the oxygen content in nitrogen. This is a very harsh condition, but catalyst survives under this condition in this particular FCC equilibrium catalyst. And then after this setup step, and then run this various the washing step. First one is water washing step. Vanadium removal was 45%, and then surface area of the nitrogen originally 104, zeolite was 29, but it hasn't changed much. But the caloric activity increased from 59 to 68.5, and the coke factor 3 to reduce 3 to 1.7, about the 20 to the down to a half. And the second aspect is the reductive wash. This is the simple ester wash, but the SO2 saturated in the cold 10 degrees centigrade, and you provide the washing. So all washing is provide the Buchner funnel, and then has to suck through within a short period. And the reason is any trace amount of the activated metal remains on the catalyst, although bulk of the activated metal is removed. Catalyst activity is very bad. So the key to this washing process is to remove all even trace quantity of metal has to remove. That's why this reductive wash system I thought it's working. Okay, without this I'll try. So number two is, that's one of the reasons the SO2. This particular case is providing not only acidity or reduction capability, at the same time provide the counter anion. So that's one of the idea come from reductive wash. And then in the same time, if you look at the literature from the beginning, a lot of work has done in terms of ammonia wash. If you look at ammonia wash, if you are not be careful, although you have vanadium removal is very high, and yet activity didn't show any improvement. So that activity decline later we found due to the zeolite area decline. So now they try to find a way to relate extent of vanadium removal as a function of caloric activity. So on the vanadium comes through 13% and go down. But the one I want you to pay attention, 1678. That's the one is done consecutively. Number 6 run is done, then go through calcination and washing process depleted. And then it improved 51% vanadium removal to 59%, and then same procedure was repeated at the third time, and vanadium has to be removed up to 71%. In fact, this one indicates to you that 70% of original vanadium was removed by repeating this process consecutively. So that only so far in this particular FCC equilibrium catalyst, 40% of original vanadium remains on the FCC without being removed. And from the microactivity side, number one is without any removal, and microactivity was only 59. You can see the improved up to 73. It's the bottom. You can relate it to the virgin catalysts, which do not have any metal loadings there. So you can expect for 80% or 85% of virgin activity was indeed restored by these vanadium removals. Now, this way, I hope that I convinced you that indeed vanadium can be removed by the simple process. Now, the second part, we're trying to identify what are the key factors to control vanadium removals. And as the earlier slide indicated, I want to talk about 3 factors. In these cases, this particular one is actually none more than the plot of the earlier table, which you can see. When the vanadium removal increases, the almost linearly microactivity increases. At the same time, corresponding decline of the coke making and gas making. So clearly, this catalyst indeed do the job. Now, comes to factors, the oxygen, the temperature of calcine temperature define the extent of vanadium activations. So you can see as the given oxygen levels, 30%, 30%, 35%, as the temperature increases, obviously vanadium removal increases, assuming that all the activated vanadiums were indeed removed by the simple washing. So, but at the same time, in this part show you partial pressure of oxygen in the calcination stream also has a factor. So as the oxygen partial pressure increases, then the partial pressure itself does not define the extent. Of course, equilibrium is established, so that the oxygen partial pressure does promote the rate of reaching equilibrium, but I don't think this oxygen partial pressure does affect the amount of the vanadium oxide separating from the matrix. Again, this is a similar type of the plot. Calcination temperature, of course, clearly related with the vanadium removal, and also respond the same way in terms of catalyst activities. Then, how long the calcination should be required to get the proper or a maximum level of the amount reaching? Then all of them, of course, depends on partial pressure of oxygen. It does vary, but in general, at the given temperature, within a couple of hours of calcination, yes, we can get the maximum activation of vanadium, and consequently we can remove that amount by the simple wash. Now I don't have much time, so I'll keep moving. the catalyst time again is with the other catalyst. This catalyst B is the one, extreme one, which I found only one catalyst behave this way. Exactly, it's not that much responsive to vanadium removal in terms of catalyst activity rejuvenation. So you will see vanadium removal is the increases to 30–35%, and yet the microactivity is not responded the way the catalyst A did that. And then why co-production factor and hydrogen decline? I think not that due to the vanadium, but due to the nickel passivation. If you calcine it, nickel goes to passivated, and then that the hydrogen making, coke making activity declines. So it's a part of the nickel passivation activity. So this slide is trying to tell you that depends on matrix structure. The vanadium response is quite different. Sometimes we call it vanadium tolerant catalyst or vanadium not tolerant catalyst type of situation. But this is the only catalyst I saw among the catalysts I tested. So if you look at the vanadium B, the catalyst B is in the middle, catalyst A is way up, so quite different. So trying to convince you further. This scheme is again factor, but it's not. This slide is trying to convince you that in the middle line are the ones remove the all metals as much as this process can do. The last one is only vanadium wash. So although vanadium, they leave the nickel and then iron intact, only vanadium removed. If you look at the bottom activity side, is not that much different. Or very approaching to close to the total demetalation, including nickel and then iron and vanadium. The vanadium wash can achieve that. However, you cannot maintain the vanadium wash alone in the cracking reaction. You have to somehow control the nickel and iron at the same time. So that this type of process would be quite preferable for the crude containing high vanadium, such as Lagamidio, the crude in Venezuela. Now, your questions are the recent ones. Vanadium is low. The more current than the one I showed you, the vanadium is 0.28. And this one is all same way it behaves. As you see the activity, RMA is relative microactivity. The equilibrium catalyst 100, and by treating similar way, is increased to 135, 130. So it's a dramatic increase in activity. Again, the catalyst system, which contains low vanadium, behaves same way. Those are the early days. At the early stage, I talked about the papers published. So public information. Thank you for your attention.
There are questions. I appreciate the questioners coming to the mic and identifying yourself and speaking so that all can hear. Any questions for
studied on the effect of sulfur-contaminated ferromagnetic metals for Fischer-Tropsch reactions and Wayne Goodman's surface science work. And we've made a lot of use of both of these areas. But as a means of introducing what I'm going to talk about here, this slide, which is really a schematic diagram of a metal catalyst particle shown in red, and the deposit at the back, which is filamentous carbon. You can see that when you look at that system, there are three interfaces that we must be concerned with. The active surface of the metal, which will change depending on what gas and gas environment that system is exposed to. It can also be affected by the support on which it's sitting. There is the catalyst particle itself, the chemical nature of that particle, whether it's a metal alloy, and also what we do to that surface. And that's the essence of what I want to talk about today, is what happens when we introduce sulfur atoms into that surface. And then finally, the interface between the catalyst particle and the deposited carbon. The type of carbon, the character of that carbon, is determined to a very large degree on the nature of the interaction of the metal crystallites at the back of the particle with the deposited carbon. If you have a metal which readily wets graphite, we find that the deposit at the back, filamentous whisker-like structure, is primarily graphite. On the other hand, if the system doesn't wet graphite, then the deposit tends to be somewhat more amorphous in nature. And what I've listed on the right are the various techniques that we're using to look at those three interfacial regions. We use a probe reaction of a simple hydrocarbon molecule. Ethylene is the one I'm going to talk about here. And we analyze the total products, gas phase and solid carbon, as a function of reaction conditions. And we also look at the effect of additives to the metal on those product distributions. We characterize the catalyst by a number of methods, primarily based on in situ electron microscopy, and we're actually doing the reaction inside the microscope. This is not a reactor on the side of the microscope and then putting it in. It's all conducted in the microscope, so we can visually watch the carbon forming, and now we can actually analyze the particle while it's reacting using the electron diffraction mode. And then finally, we